Rubber is only one ingredient in a modern car tire, and it's not even the biggest one by weight. A single tire is built from more than 200 raw materials, blended together in a recipe that most tire companies treat as a closely guarded secret. Natural rubber, harvested from rubber trees in Southeast Asia, is combined with synthetic rubber made from petroleum. Carbon black, a fine salt-like powder, is mixed in to add strength and resist abrasion. Steel wire, polyester, cotton, rayon, and sometimes fiberglass or aramid fiber are added as reinforcement. Sulfur, zinc oxide, and other chemical accelerants are measured in to control how the rubber will cure later in the process. All of this gets weighed out with extreme precision. A few grams too much of one chemical can change how a tire performs at highway speed years later. Fabric cord quality alone is judged on 4 separate properties: strength, stretch, shrinkage, and elasticity, before it's even allowed near the mixing floor. The Banbury mixer is where a tire actually begins to take shape. This industrial mixer combines the rubber, carbon black, and chemical additives under intense pressure and heat, kneading them into a single, uniform black compound. The mixing process typically runs in stages: a base mix first, then a final mix where the curing chemicals are added separately, since adding them too early would cause the rubber to start curing inside the mixer itself. Once a batch finishes mixing, it's dumped out and run through a series of machines that flatten it into a continuous sheet the industry calls a slab. From here, the slab gets split off towards several different production lines at once, because a tire isn't built as one piece, it's built as dozens of separate components that only come together at the very end. Extrusion is the process that shapes the tread, sidewalls, and bead fillers. Rubber is pressed into a heated chamber and forced through a die, which is a metal template cut to the exact cross-sectional shape of the part being made. For the tread specifically, 3 different rubber compounds are extruded at the same time from 3 separate extruders, then merged together at a shared extruder head, since the compound touching the road needs different properties than the compound underneath it. After extrusion, the tread runs through a cooling line that can stretch anywhere from 100 to 200 feet long, controlling and stabilizing its exact dimensions before it's cut to a precise length and weight. Calendaring is a separate process, and it exists to solve a different problem: coating steel or fabric cords in rubber. The cord is pulled between large heated rollers that press rubber into the top and bottom of the material at once, forcing it to permeate and bond to the steel or fabric underneath. Since raw steel doesn't naturally bond to rubber, the steel cord is first coated in a thin layer of brass, which lets the rubber adhere properly during calendaring. This process produces the body plies, the steel belts, and the cap plies, the internal skeleton of the tire that most drivers never see. The bead is one of the most overlooked components in the entire tire, but it might be the most important structurally. This is the part that locks the tire onto the wheel rim and keeps air from escaping. Steel wire is coated in rubber multiple times, building up thickness in careful layers, then wrapped around a fixture to form a precise circular hoop. A filler rubber is attached to this hoop afterward, and once its circumference is checked and confirmed exact, the bead is finally ready to move to the tire building stage. The tire building machine is where every one of these separately manufactured components finally comes together as a single object. The process follows a strict order. The inner liner goes down first. This is the innermost layer, and its job is to hold air pressure the way an inner tube used to. Next comes the carcass, built from the calendared body plies, which forms the tire's basic structural frame. The bead cores are set next, positioned at a fixed distance from each other, to match the wheel size the tire is designed for. Sidewall rubber and clinch rubber are wood around next, giving the tire its shape along the sides and its ability to flex under load without cracking. Once these layers are in place, the machine performs a step that looks almost nothing like tire building and everything like inflating a balloon. The whole assembly, still flat and cylindrical at this point, gets expanded outward until the carcass takes on a toroidal shape, essentially a donut shape. and makes contact with the tread assembly waiting above it. The carcass edges are then turned up and around the bead cores, locking the sidewalls, the clinch rubber, and the tread rubber together into one continuous structure. Steel belts are layered in above the carcass at this stage too, added specifically to resist impacts and hold the tire's shape under stress. Finally, the tread, already extruded, cooled and cut to size, is set in place around the outside. What comes off this machine is called a green tire, not because of its color, but because, like unripe fruit, it hasn't fully developed into its final form yet. A green tire looks roughly like a tire, but it's soft, dull, and structurally incomplete. It still needs one final transformation before it can touch a road. Vulcanization is the single most important step in the entire process, and it's also the oldest. The technique dates back to 1839. The green tire is placed inside a heated mold and inflated from the inside with a high-pressure bladder, pressing the rubber firmly against the mold's interior walls. At the same time, the mold applies intense heat, typically for 10 to 30 minutes depending on tire size. This heat triggers a chemical reaction where sulfur atoms form permanent crosslinks between the rubber molecules, physically bonding what used to be separate layers into one continuous material. Before vulcanization, rubber is soft, sticky, and would fall apart under real driving stress. After it, the same material becomes elastic, durable, and capable of holding its shape through years of heat, friction, and weight. This is also the step that stamps in the tire's final tread pane. Since the mold itself is carved with the tread design the tire will carry for the rest of its life. Some tires go through an additional step immediately after curing, called post-cure inflation, where the still hot tire is mounted and inflated again briefly to help it cool into a more perfectly round shape before it's set down. Every tire that comes out of the mold goes through inspection before it's allowed to leave the factory. Workers and automated systems check for visible defects, bubbles, uneven surfaces, or misaligned components. Beyond the visual check, tires are tested for uniformity and balance using specialized spinning equipment that detects imperfections invisible to the eye, checking for anything that might cause a vibration at speed years down the road. Some tires are pulled at random for destructive testing, cut open to examine the internal layer structure and confirm it matches the engineering specification exactly, layer by layer, down to the position of the steel belts. Only tires that pass every single one of these checks get labeled, packaged, and shipped out to distributors. From raw rubber bales to a finished tire ready for a car, the entire process can take under a day inside a modern factory, but it depends on over a century of chemistry, precision engineering, and quality testing that most drivers never think about every single time they get in their car.